everybody, welcome. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. Today on Dat Fury Radio, part 2 of the best music we heard in 2024. Carrying on with Rob and Royce. If you missed our intros, check out last week's episode. Like, share, and subscribe, and comment, and leave a 5-star review.
Smash the bell. Smash
the bell.
There you go.
Does anyone smash the bell, really? I've never smashed the bell once.
There was this very unfortunate gif of a guy at the University of Georgia game. I guess they have a bell that was there.
Okay.
You can search for it on Twitter. It will be the first thing that comes up, just University of Georgia bell. It'll be the first thing that comes up. The thing I'll say, the cameraman chose a very unfortunate perspective for that look.
All right. Well, I can't transition out of that. We'll be sure to check that out. So I'm gonna kick us off this week with a pick I can almost guarantee is on nobody else's list, but this is genuinely, it's in my top tier for the year. There's no question about that. But also, this is why it's fun to make lists and talk about it, and because you discover stuff, right? And I can guarantee, for you two guys at least, that this is an artist you've never heard of and would never hear of.
Okay.
Except that I'm going to mention them now. The artist is M. Tate, capital M space Tate. The record's called Alone. It actually came out last year. I discovered it this year. I discovered it on a public synthesizer forum called Modwiggler that has been a huge help in me stopping my Twitter habit. So I'm on Modwiggler most days and mostly reading things and posting once in a while. But this person, they're in the UK. They posted their Bandcamp link in the thread of where we all post our Bandcamp links. And this is an ambient synthesizer record. It's very beautiful. It's it feels, I haven't done the analysis, but it feels mostly major key. 4 long pieces. Great for reading or studying or working, or if you like ambient music, it can function in the background. Obviously, you can do a deep listen, which I think is very enjoyable. But yeah, just Rob, I don't have an answer to that question for any of my albums. I listened to the album, and
no. What record was it? What was the name of the album?
Oh, the record's called Alone.
Alone. Okay, so that's the recent 2023 release.
2023 release.
Gotcha.
From there, I also this artist helpfully did a best of, where they picked like they have a pretty good discography. They picked like one song from every release. So I also really like the best of. I forget if they call it best of or greatest hits or whatever. It's on their Bandcamp page, and we'll link to it.
It's greatest hits is what I see.
Greatest hits.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's like 8 songs. It's basically a double LP. So that's a great place to go next if you like Alone. But yeah, just a user on a synth forum, and happened to catch me at the right time. I checked it out and just fell for it. It just reached out and grabbed me, and I sensed in it something I hadn't quite, just something just a little bit unique. It's ambient music, long chord progressions and beautiful synth pads, and the formula or the structure isn't anything groundbreaking, but it just grabbed me emotionally. I thought it was just super effective. And one interesting little quirk, and so actually I'm thinking about reaching out to this person and seeing if they want to come on the show and talk about their music. But the tracks they're fading out and fading out and fading out, and then that last second cuts. And I'm so curious if that's a technical thing with the render or a choice. And the I'm debating in my head, is the mystery better than
No, like you don't want
the question?
You would prefer not.
But that's something, if you're doing a deep listen, that's something you might notice. It's at the very end. If you're not listening very carefully, you'll miss it. But
she'll be on the podcast ranting for like 30 minutes about the 1 second it's cut off.
Maybe. But yeah, M. Tate, Alone. Shout out to M. Tate in my top tier.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
In the break, Royce made a good point that we should talk a little bit about Quincy Jones. What do we want to say about Q?
Man, I mean, let's see. I remember looking. He had in his discography.
Does anyone have the complete discography? Is it even possible to compile?
I don't think it is. I don't think
the guy was doing 12 records a year
and
like
film
12
scores.
top tier records a year from the 60s to basically 2 years ago. Like, oh my God.
I tried to, after he passed, I tried to get on like the streaming service and just kind of listen. And it's like, I hope you've got time because you're going to be here a while.
Because you're going to be here. You'll be here all day. I mean, can you imagine, I'm just like, you produced Little Richard and Michael Jackson. Right? You produced a duet record with Count Basie and Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
And Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Yes.
Like what a career. Like, is there anyone in popular music that has ever spanned the length of like genre development that Quincy Jones did?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's, even like doing The Wiz and like all those movies that he did, it was just like, what? And they all sound completely different. That's the thing about it, like it doesn't sound like, you hear a Dre beat, it's Dr. Dre, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Quincy Jones he was amazing. And the people he worked with were, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be in those rooms. He worked with when Herbie Hancock was doing like all that music he was doing coming into the early 80s. Quincy Jones didn't know how to use computers. So he went to Herbie Hancock and was like, you need to show me how to use these synthesizers. These things are ridiculous. And that's how he learned. Like, I'm going to go learn from this guy, one of the best jazz musicians to play electronic music in the world. I know, just a fascinating individual. I watched this documentary on Netflix, and they talked about how this dude worked, and he would just work and work and work and work and work until he got sick, passed out, and had to go to the hospital. He'd get him better. He'd come out and start the whole process over again. His whole life. I don't know how you can be that driven.
Royce, do you remember like the first time you became aware of him and the music he worked on, or like his role as a producer? Is that kind of how you came, whether it was through the Michael Jackson records, or like what were you listening to the first time you were like, oh, this is a name?
Off the Wall.
Okay.
When I heard Off the Wall and songs like Human Nature and things on there, it was like, what's happening? Who's doing all this stuff? How do I, and then I started seeing his name like everywhere. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because Quincy Jones had an idea, like he just was involved in so many different things. Yeah, and then
his ability to like animate a creative engine to produce basically whatever, like, and I mean, We Are the World probably wouldn't have happened without him.
Yeah.
Almost certainly would not have occurred.
That's a great way to put it, to create whatever, and that goes to what Royce was saying about kind of the lack of a signature style, but that ability to produce in whatever style the music called for or the situation called for.
Indeed. And I just can't get over. You know, he was the only record producer that was able to successfully like transition from big band to what, you know, rock and roll and hip hop and R&B would ultimately become, you know. Like as soon as an electric guitar got involved, everybody else lost their ability to adapt. But Quincy Jones was able to do that. And able to do that in genre defining ways, right?
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else that made that transition as a producer.
And he worked on a Sammy Davis Jr. record for Christ's sake.
Yes, I was going to say.
He worked on a Sammy Davis Jr. record, and then he produced Thriller. Like, that's insane. That's insane.
Range, man.
It's a completely different gear. Like,
that's range.
I saw him in an interview.
I don't know. He was.
They asked him in an interview one time, what's it like to work with Michael Jackson? And he turned around and he's like, we're making all that music. You should be asking Michael Jackson what it's like to work with us.
It's not wrong.
That's fair.
Like, yeah. I mean, the guy physically played on a Dizzy Gillespie record.
I didn't know that.
Like, I mean, that's like late 50s, like just a sideman, like session musician, and then he's like running the show for, you know, records that would become like the most important in the pop canon. Like if you take like the top 50 like pop canon records of all time, he probably has 20 of them. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, unmatched.
Absolutely unmatched.
Yeah, let's get back into it. So good talk about Quincy. I don't know, Royce, do you want to mention anything else that you listened to this year?
Give me a second. Somebody go first.
Sure, Rob, you want to do a couple?
There's a big year for ska. Big year for ska this year. I think Bad Time Records had a lot of really big tours. They didn't have a lot of releases this year, but they had a lot of big tours. And one of the bands in ska that I was delighted to see come back were the Aquabats. Finally, at long last, the Aquabats have made a return. It was their first record since 2020. It's been 4 years, and that record was not very good. Really, their last record in a meaningful sense was 2011 in terms of like original material. This is all original material. It was all like legit Aquabats stuff. The opening track, Whatever Forever, it's a little synthy. It's a little synthy and kind of out there, which I think, you know, Royce and Howie you would particularly enjoy. But it was also, you know, fun and kind of keeping in the theme of what it seems my 2024 was, which was comedy. I will definitely check out an Aquabats record on.
Thank you for letting me know. I didn't know that had happened. That flew under my radar, but now I'm excited to check it out.
Basically, no one did. you would have to be a super fan to really know. And I am a card-carrying member of the Aquabats, so I'm a massive fan. The other record that I think is just like impossible to pass up, and you know, accompanies what was a absolute tragedy for the New York music scene is Silver Patron Saints. It's a covered record featuring the songs of Jesse Malin, who tragically suffered a spinal stroke last year. He's at dinner at a restaurant in my neighborhood and just doubles over in pain and is just like writhing in agony. And he had an embolism literally in his spine. And obviously he's a musician, no health insurance. He had to go to Argentina to try to get medical care to get right. He just did a 2-show residency at the Beacon Theater here in New York this week. But if you're looking for an exploration of his music by some top tier people, and he's on every single record, he's on every single one of these recordings, and it's super cool. Counting Crows, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day, Dinosaur Jr., Frank Turner, the Wallflowers came back to do a song. Spoon, Butch Walker, who was the producer for like Fall Out Boy and all those folks. He was also, I think in 2022, he was on my list of top records. The Hold Steady is on it. Tommy and Ruby Stinson. I mean, Low Cut Connie, which I think is a great band. Rancid's on it. Google Bordello, Agnostic Front, Murphy's Law. Like they all banded together to just make a benefit record for Jesse Malin. And it was, you know, the last time I saw that kind of top tier talent come together for in support for another artist was Mark Malecki from Miracle Legion after his wife passed, and it was cool to see these songs imagined that way. Great place to start, I think, is Black Haired Girl, which is my favorite of his songs. But there are a ton of great tracks on that record. The cover of Death Star by The Hold Steady, also really good.
Outstanding. So to go through, I want to talk about everything. I won't. My list will be at MrFuriousRecords.com with not only my top tier and a little my thoughts about each one, but my A tier, and then I've got a new tier this year, which is for. These are records that I would not have even mentioned in years past. But my list goes, so I've got my best, that's my top tier. I've got my more, which I've done in the past. And then this year I've got a new category. It's called Personal Faves, Your Mileage May Vary. So these are records I love just as much as what's in my more tier, but I do come up with this list with an audience in mind. I know it's a very small audience, but I am thinking about what's going to appeal maybe to other people, or what I think I'm giving a recommendation implied to check out.
Okay.
The personal faves category is a little bit more just, I loved this. So if you know that your taste kind of aligns with mine, you know that you might find something to explore here. If you're not finding that to be the case, then, you know, you can skim right past my personal faves. But to make a couple more picks, you know, this is kind of a ringer at this point, but Nahles and Ephro's Endlessness is a beautiful record, continuing where she left off, combining jazz and synthesizers.
Can we spell that?
We can. It's NALASINEPHRO.
Gotcha.
Endlessness.
Okay.
I think it's 4 or 5 on the Pitchfork list. That is the 1 point of overlap. And it's well deserved. It's an excellent record.
Okay.
The other one, I think this one, you'll recognize the name. I do think it's underrated. I'm not seeing it on lists, and I think it deserves to be. And that is High on Fire's Cometh the Storm. Matt Pike, sober Matt Pike, continues to deal just absolute heat. I love it. This is one of their... I love all their records. I think this might be in the top half, which is saying something because they have not put out a bad record, and this is number 8 or something like that.
I can't believe I missed a High on Fire record. This is the first time hearing of this. Like,
hey,
wow.
Then I'm delivering very good news for you because it is an excellent High on Fire record.
Okay, here's the
other thing.
Okay,
Let me say one more thing. The engineering and production and mixing is excellent. The numbers are telling me it's just as loud and kind of over compressed as most of their stuff, But to me, it sounds like there's a little more space in it. It's a little more dynamic to my ears, and I love that. It fits them really well. This is in a real sweet spot for them sonically. Okay, go ahead.
So, like, how does it compare to Electric Messiah? Is like the real question.
It's dial back the Motorhead one notch and bring in just a pinch of Matt's solo record, which I didn't love a whole lot, but did have some interesting ideas.
I also did not like it. But
yeah, don't let that scare you.
Electric Messiah was so good. Like,
yeah. You're going to like it.
Okay.
It's absolutely blazing. It's not, you will not lack for heaviness or speed. Well, it's a high on fire record.
Yeah, I have to tell you, like when I lived in the Bay Area, probably the best metal shows I went to while I was there were seeing High on Fire in Oakland. Like,
oh, nice.
Like the metal community from all of Northern California would come out to these shows. Like, and these were pure like lovers of the genre. So the I don't understand how I didn't know High on Fire didn't put out a record this year, but it's also been forever, right? Like
it's been a while.
Yeah. Like,
and as
Electric Messiah was like 2018, like
something like that. It was
like
18, 19
8 years ago.
Well, 5 maybe, but
no,
5 or 6.
6.
2018.
Maybe 6.
2018.
Okay, 6 years.
It's a long time. That's like
it is a long time.
I mean, it's not Tool long, but it's long.
Well, it looks like they had an album last year as well.
No, that's Art of Self-Defense came out, and it's one of their early. That's like a remaster.
Got you.
That's from the 90s, I think, or early.
Yeah,
early 2000s.
I mean, like, look at the artwork on these records, man.
Yeah. The Art of Self-Defense was their first record, Royce.
Okay.
And I want to say, I don't think it was 90s, but it was early aughts. Definitely.
That's crazy. Okay. They just changed the date.
A lot of people are re-releasing stuff on Spotify.
Got you.
Because you kind of have to remaster it for Spotify because they're so crappy about compressing the audio.
Just to say for people online, I'm listening to it on Apple Music. I don't ever listen to Spotify.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm the only Spotify user in this crew.
The ads on YouTube Music have gotten so bad.
Yeah, they have.
Even though I'm angry at Spotify, I will occasionally use the free Spotify website.
No, I got you.
I did want to say, so Rob, the fact that this flew under your radar, I mean, that does kind of speak to the issues and just lack of crossover and music journalism is not really in a great place, I would say. And
no, it's not. It's not. Well, I mean, there's no money in it, right? Like, I mean, probably the best music criticism website on the planet right now is Brooklyn Vegan.
Brooklyn Vegan.
Like, and it's, it's hanging on by a thread. It's like the shittiest WordPress site ever. It's held together by duct tape and baling wire, but they actually have the best stuff in a way that like a lot of these other. Listen, when you and I were growing up, Howie, like Pitchfork was something we looked at we read it every day, like every day.
I mean, I did the same thing with The Source,
Yeah, right. Or XXL or like those places, but everyone.
And I think there's still
everyone
good stuff
stopped
out
paying
there
for news around the same time that they stopped paying for music.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. It's like the music is not where people are getting rich. It's their whatever weird little thing they can do on some streaming service or something like that. So it is great to see that all this other music is still coming out, but some of that stuff, I'm just like,
yeah,
oh
we're getting a lot of music. Discoverability, strangely, is like
the difficult part.
Really difficult. And I don't know if you guys are on any kind of like recommendation service that's based upon your previous listening, but I'm getting fed like nothing but taste freeze right now. Like I all I get are just like the same kind of sounding like punk records. And obviously I'm a massive punk rock fan. That is not the only kind of music that I listen to. And,
Sure.
like my release radar over the course of this year in particular, I don't know what Spotify did. But it's gotten dramatically worse, like noticeably worse. I'm getting more obscure artists than I got before, but they do not sound dramatically different from the other stuff I'm listening to. And
how much of it is AI?
well, I think how much like AI is part of it, but you know, the thing about neural networks, all the recommendation engines before were based on support vector machines. So it was a little easier for you to find connections and outliers. Whereas like, as these neural networks reach higher parameter sizes, like their autocomplete is based more on a common understanding of what's likely to be next. And so in a weird way, I think AI has made Spotify more like 90s pop radio, except it's specific for the milieu that you like the most.
Yeah.
Which is super personal, but also super weird, right? It's not representative of your broad taste in the way that I think the previous generation of machine learning, or what we're now calling artificial intelligence, used to be.
It would be fatiguing to hear your favorite song over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Hey, well, that's music recommendation 2024. It feels like, which is why it's important that you continue to tune in to independent sources such as Dat Fury Radio, so you can get
exactly
a broad range of music. And why you need to hang out
Mic
with
drop.
more people.
That's exactly where I was going. You guys, you found the ending. That's exactly where I was going. There is still, maybe more than ever, there's a place for hanging out and talking about music. And I'm so happy that, you know, of the stuff you guys have brought to my attention tonight, I've heard of almost none of it. And so I've got a bunch of recommendations to check out. Rob will make it easy to do that via his Spotify playlist, which will be linked in the description. And yeah, like and subscribe and stay tuned for more interesting music and interesting conversations coming up in 2025 on Dat Fury Radio.
Also,
including
you gotta listen to the Yum Yums record. Listen to the Yum Yums record. That was my favorite of the year.
We'll do that. Everyone listening promises to listen to that for you.
Yes. Listen to the new Yum Yums. It's terrific. They're a bunch of extremely overweight Scandinavian dudes that just make silly punk rock pop songs, but you got to listen to Yum Yums.
You had me at punk rock pop songs.
Just any of it, or this new record?
The new record is called Poppin' Up Again. Do You Like Me is my favorite song.
Okay.
And it's on the playlist, so definitely check it out. Honeychurch is also good. Ramona's Tea Party is terrific. The new single from her is like amazing. Coxbar released a new record. It's been the first time in a very, very long time. The single With My Hand on My Heart is terrific, but the entire record is pretty tasty. Blind Boys of Alabama did a collaboration with Preservation Hall Jazz Band. The Blind Boys from Alabama, those songs are bad, but the Preservation Hall Jazz Band songs are terrific. It's some of the best live recordings that you've ever heard. Armchair Shanks, like tons of recommendations, all of which are going to be in the Spotify playlist, which you can check.
So much good music. There's no question. Music is in great shape.
The music business is in horrible shape. in
That is also
absolute
true.
horrible shape. But the music product is the best in recent memory. Like this
That's
is.
what I meant.
It's so
I
good
literally.
right now.
That's what I meant. I literally meant the music.
Yeah, the music is really, really good right now.
It's really good. Really exciting year. Everybody, you dragged me back into pod after we found an ending, but here's another ending. Everybody have a great year, and we'll see you in 2025 on Dat Fury Radio.
Later.
There it is. Good job, gentlemen.